last time they were just starting to dig here, weren't they?
They were active. They were active, and it's an ongoing thing. Guys, we need to pull in tightly. From here on out, it's going to be crowded and noisy. And here comes another group. Okay, guys, quickly. Underground pile of rocks. When you read in your blue book under the title Area of David's Palace, on page 48, we read that David and Solomon did quite a bit of building of large palatial mansions. We read that David lived in the stronghold of the Jebusite city. When David conquered the city, it was already a Canaanite city. The people living here called Jebusites, that's the local name. They had palaces, they had fortresses. And the supposition is those were at the high point of the city, where we were and are standing, so you could look down toward the rest of the city and you could guard the traffic coming in and out. It only makes sense, logical sense. David then, when he conquered it, lived in the stronghold. All right, the city and he inherited its palaces and stronghold, called it Ir David, City of David, built all around. And we read in Samuel and Kings and Chronicles how he built and what he built. A palace for himself. Solomon built a palace for himself, as well as the temple and a lot of governmental buildings. Things called the Hall of Pillars and the Hall of Thrones and the Hall of Judgment and so on and so on. And you can read about them here in these verses. We read about how they built them with expensive cut stones and elaborate decorations and so on and so on and so on. Now, when the archaeologist Eilat Mazar came to this area, started digging, looking for what she could find, she was expecting to find, hoping to find, some of these buildings. And she found kind of a big mixed up mash of stuff, including some rather large stones, some of which are some of these larger ones, and some are on the other side, underneath that concrete retaining wall, some larger stones. And she found pottery in association with them, dating to the time of David, 10th century. And she said, based on the topography and the location and the size of the stones and the pottery, she says, I think I've got David's palace. Now the problem is she doesn't have the floor. What you want is a floor with the pottery on it and then the collapse. So it's a sealed context. She has the walls in the pottery, and we're not sure which layer of stones the pottery associates with. She says David's palace. We've also found here, not her, but earlier, some elaborate capitals to pillars. Here's a reproduction of one. It's meant to be a palm tree, the fronds opening up on both sides. That design is on the back of the 5 shekels. And we find that kind of a capital in royal buildings at many places in royal cities from the Iron Age, not just in Jerusalem. It seems to say palace. It seems to say palace. All right? We think we have archaeological evidence of it. We've got crowds behind us. Let's keep going.